Hi everyone, and welcome back to my live. Those of you who've been following along, you know that this entire month I'm going through my first book, chapter by chapter, through my first book called Beyond Asanas. We're looking at each chapter and looking at the kind of stories that I've written about in each chapter and the symbolism behind the asanas that I've discussed. So today we're going to be discussing chapter 10 of the book, which is Gomukhasana. Now, Gomukhasana is also known as the cow-faced posture. And if you've been to India or if you live in India, you know that cows are sacred in India, that cows have the right of way on the roads, and they just sit around on the road sometimes, and you can't, stopping traffic and things like that. So cows are very sacred, and they're very important in Hindu mythology as well. So and even generally in Indian culture, like a cow's milk is used to make ghee. Ghee is used in skincare. It's very important in the Ayurvedic diet, and it also in a lot of rituals. Ghee plays an integral role. So ghee is very important. Cow's milk is very important. So therefore, cows are also very important in Hindu mythology. And in this chapter, I take the example of two famous cows. One is Nandi. So a lot of you who've been to Shiva temples know about Nandi. Nandi's always there along with Shiva. And the other one is the cow called Kamdhenu. So now the first, so there are two stories in this chapter, excuse me. Sorry. So there are two stories in this chapter. The first one is called Devotion, Loyalty, and a Long Life. And in this chapter, I talk about the story of Nandi. So Nandi is the bull that you always find in Shiva temples facing Shiva. And the story of Nandi begins with his father. His father was sage Shilada. So Shilada, he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And he had wanted to have a child for a very long time, and he was unable to have a child. And in a previous live, we've also discussed the importance of children in Indian culture, in Hindu mythology. So here also, Shilad wanted a child. That was his deepest desire. And so what he did was he decided to do tapas to Lord Shiva. And he did a lot of tapas, a lot of penance, until finally Shiva was happy with everything that he did, and he appeared to Shilada and said, okay, what is it that you want? What is it, why have you been doing all this tapas, this penance? What is it that you want? And Shilada tells him, well, I want nothing more than to have a son. And if you can grant me that, then I would be like the most, the happiest devotee. So Shiva says, okay, if that's what you want, then that is what you will have. And the next morning, as Shilad was plowing his field, he came across this beautiful baby, and that baby was his. He adopted the baby, and he named the baby Nandi. And Nandi grows up to be a very strong and handsome and beautiful man. And just like his dad was a big devotee of Shiva, Nandi also grows to be a big devotee of Shiva. And one day when Nandi is all grown up, there's two sages, his dad's friends, come to visit his house, sage Mitra and sage Varuna. And they stay overnight, and as they're about to leave in the morning, Shilada tells Nandi, you should take the blessings of these sages, because they're these learned men and their blessings are very important. So as Nandi goes in front of them, both of the sages, their face, the expression changes. And Shilada notices and says, okay, he asks them, what's the matter? Why did your expressions all of a sudden change? And both of the sages tell Shilada that they've seen Nandi's future, and it looks like, that he won't live a very long life. It looks like he's going to have an early death. And Shilada is very, he's dumbstruck, and he's sad, and he's depressed, because he's gone through great lengths to get a son, and now he finds out that, the son is not going to have a long life. So so he's quite depressed, and so then now Nandi starts to do penance, and because he's also like a great devotee of Shiva. And finally, when Nandi does enough penance, Shiva comes to him and says, okay, what is it that you want? I'm very happy with your penance. What is it that you want? And up till now, Nandi had thought that what he wanted was a long life. He wanted to live, till old age. But when he sees Shiva, he is so overcome with devotion that he says, Lord, I thought that I wanted to live forever, but now in your presence, what I really want is to devote my life to you, be in service of you forever. And Shiva is really happy. And he says, yes, you can certainly have that. But remember that, if I were to grant you that, you would have to live without your parents. You would have to, come away with me to Mount Kailash, wherever I am, and not really live with your parents anymore. And Nandi said, so be it. This is what I want. I am very devoted to you, and this is what I want. I want to live in service to you. So Shiva says, okay. And Nandi's devotion to Shiva, and we always see Nandi, in all of the temples where Shiva is. So his devotion is so great to Shiva that there is a story that when when the churning was happening, the churning of the ocean for the nectar of immortality, and Shiva ended up drinking, the nectar. There's a story. A lot of people believe that a few drops of the nectar fell on the floor. And Nandi saw that, okay, this is going to, destroy the earth. So he very quickly goes and he licks and removes those, the few drops that have fallen. And everybody around him is shocked because the poison, the hala hala, was very poisonous. It was very strong. And Nandi says, no, well, Shiva is, I have the blessings of Shiva. He's going to take care of me. And that's why I drank this poison. So in this story, we see a sense of devotion, loyalty. This story depicts that. Now, the second story that I've spoken about is it's called Kamdhenu, bovine loyalty. Now, Kamdhenu is another famous cow in Indian mythology. And it means the cow of plenty. Kamdhenu literally translated means cow of plenty. And Kamdhenu was a cow that actually came out of the churning of the ocean of immortality. So she was one of those good things that had come out along with the poison. And all the sages saw that there's this cow, and she's a wish granting cow. And they say, okay, because she's like this, let's give it to sage Vashisht. Let's give her to sage Vashisht because he maintains this big ashram, and a lot of people visit his ashram, and he needs to feed a lot of his the visitors as well as his students. So let's give it to him. He is in need of the cow, and the cow can serve him well. So Sage Vashisht takes the cow, and for many years he has a lot to eat. There's no dearth of food and nutrition in his ashram. And then one day, King Vishwamitra actually later on, like Vishwamitra Asana, he became a sage, but initially he was a king. And he comes with his entire army, to Vashishta's ashram, and Vashishta receives him very well, and he gives him a great spread to eat and everything. And Vishwamitra is very happy, and he says, this is just an ashram, it's a small ashram. He's just a sage, he's just a priest, but look, he's received us so well. And when he says this, one of his men, who's being very sneaky and very underhanded, he said, well, yes, obviously he's been able to do this. He has Kamdhenu, he has a wish-granting cow, and that cow can give him anything that he wants. So, and that makes Vishwamitra think that because he's the king, he should have the cow. And even if he shouldn't have the cow because he wants it, and he's the king, he has the right to it. So he politely asks Vashishta, he says, okay, can you give me the cow? And Vashishta says, no, I've raised the cow. I've raised the cow like my own kid. I cannot just get rid of her and just send it your way. No, I'm not going to do this. So there was a lot of back and forth, between Vashishta and Vishwamitra. And finally, Vishwamitra got so angry, he said, okay, I'm just going to get my army and I'm going to forcefully take Kamdhenu from you. So, so they come, the army comes in, and Vashishta and Vishwamitra start to wrestle with each other. And Vashishta is actually overpowered because he's just a sage. He's just, a guru. And he's overpowered by Vishwamitra and his men. And they forcefully take Kamdhenu into their possession. And Vashishta tries to protect Kamdhenu and he's feeling very helpless. And then finally Kamdhenu said, you just have to tell me that I should defeat this army and I will do whatever you wish. I'm a wish-fulfilling, wish-granting cow. So tell me what you want and that will be done. So Vashishta says, well, I don't want them to take you away. I want to win. And so Kamdhenu all of a sudden produces these brave and valiant and strong warriors. And those warriors actually overpower Vashishta's army. And, Vashishta and Vishwamitra, they have for years and decades, they have this enmity between them. They're enemies, because Vishwamitra feels slighted by this whole episode. And later on, Vishwamitra does gain his revenge, but this whole process is a very transformative one for him. So, the significance, as I said, I write about the significance and symbolism also in each of these chapters. And this is actually where, the mythology actually makes sense, which is where we can connect the mythology behind the asanas to the actual practice of asanas. And the significance here is that Kamdhenu and Nandi both consciously chose what they wanted. They consciously chose a path. Nandi wanted to be in, service to Lord Shiva. And similarly, Kamdhenu said, you tell me what you want and I will grant you that. So both of them, consciously chose the path that they wanted to be on. And that is pretty much what, what we need when we say that we're going to be yoga practitioners or we're going to, start to practice yoga. That sense of devotion, that sense of consciousness, that sense of conscious living is what this story is actually about. So similarly, when we practice Gomukhasana, it is not just that, you're doing a balancing pose. It's basically that you're trying to depict the kind of devotion that both Kamdhenu and Nandi had towards their masters. So that is the significance. And I just wanted to read out a little bit from the book. And the part that I actually wanted to read out is, just like Kamdhenu and Nandi, if yogis keep their dedication, faith and devotion securely in their hearts, they will experience samadhi, an existence devoid of any duality. So just how Nandi and Kamdhenu had just one track mind, if we keep practicing this balancing asana, this Gomukhasana, and really understand the meaning behind it, we can also eventually achieve that state of samadhi where there are no conflicts in the mind, where there are no two aspects to the mind. Similarly, I also have a little summary of Gomukhasana. So in that I write, in the Gomukhasana, our arms and legs are seemingly tied, yet we are performing an asana. This signifies that to stay loyal, committed, and devoted is a challenge, but we must rise to the occasion in spite of the challenges. When practicing the Gomukhasana, we must dwell on the loyalty and devotion Kamdhenu and Nandi had for their masters. So that is it for today's asana. Today's asana was Gomukhasana. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's any asana that you want an explanation for, please drop a comment or email me. And in the book you can see this is the Gomukhasana. It's this picture was taken on top of Matanga Hills in Hampi, and it's a beautiful picture overlooking the entire city of Hampi. So this book is still available on Amazon. Go ahead and buy it and read it and ask me any questions that you might have. So thank you for logging in today. I will see you tomorrow with the next chapter in Beyond Asanas. Thank you. Bye.